Business Assistant is a small business account system which is designed to work hand in hand with our flagship accounting software, Assistant. During this video, I will be taking you through the most important features of Business Assistant, including the setup of the company file, entering opening balances, and posting daily transactions. This is the screen you will be presented with when first opening Business Assistant. You may either open an existing database or create a new database. For demonstration purposes, we will create a new database. By default, your database will be saved in Documents, Business Assistant, Templates. Type in a name for the database and press Save. The new database will be created and the following screens will be displayed so you can configure Business Assistant. Enter your business name, ABN, address details, and other contact information such as email, phone, and fax. Also enter your bank account details in the following fields so the details appear on the invoice records. Under the Setup tab, you have to set the main properties of Business Assistant. Choose Entity Type, Accounting Period, and the last day of the financial year. In this case, 30th of June 2011. Reporting Entity, Large Entity, and Non-Profit Organisation indicators will only be used by your accountant when preparing financial reports. Leave them blank. The GST Registered indicator will ensure that GST paid and collected amounts are calculated for the GST report and business activity statements. The Cash-Based Accounting indicator will indicate the change in the business, not when you are registering an invoice, but only when you pay a supplier or when a customer pays you. Specify the length of the account in the Client Chart of Accounts. The length of the account can vary from 4 to 6 digits. The 5th and 6th digits are sub-accounts, so you have to decide whether you will be using sub-accounts in the general ledger and how many digits you want in these sub-accounts. Please note, the length of the accounts can be changed later if you find that you have to use sub-accounts. Specify the number of branches in the business. If you have more than one branch, list the names of the branches in the table at the bottom part of the setup options. Enter the sequence number in the first column and the name of the branch in the second column. Specify the number of directors in the business. List the names in the table at the bottom part of the setup options. The Transactions Held For option allows you to maintain up to 10 years of transaction history before they are converted to balances in the oldest year. The Login Password field protects the company file from unauthorized access. To add directors, branches, or specific meeting dates, fill in the relevant details under following drop boxes. Under the Options tab, you have the option to use Microsoft Word templates, change your directories, or the option to automatically load your database when opening Business Assistant. If this option is deactivated, you will have to choose a database each time you open Business Assistant. Business Assistant does not require registration for 14 days from the installation date. However, you can register the program during setup of your first company file. You can do this in the Registration tab under the options. Enter the username and password as provided in the registration email, then click on the Register button. You must be connected to the internet so the program can retrieve your activation code from the online server. After the Business Assistant options are completed, you'll have to set up your account. Usually this is done by an accountant. However, if you are preparing the company file yourself, select Accounts and click on this button the master chart of accounts will be displayed. Mark accounts you will be most likely using in your business. Click on the Transfer button and the appropriate accounts will be generated in the chart of accounts. To transfer accounts from the master chart to the client chart of accounts, click on the Transfer Accounts button. Mark accounts you would like to transfer. Let's select 1130, which is raw materials, as this is not currently in our client chart of accounts. I will also add account 7270 and 7510, which will be later used in the presentation. Click on the Transfer button once completed. Notice that these accounts are now shown in our chart. If you need to modify the description of any of the created accounts, select the account, click on the Edit Account button, change the description, then click on the OK button to save the change. You may also want to create a new account, one not available in the master chart. To do so, click on the New Account button, enter the account number, and set any assigning relevant properties, then save the account. For an existing business, you will have to enter opening balances of your asset or liability accounts. You would do this in the posting screen. For illustration purposes, I will speed up the data entry process and show you entered transactions. These transactions represent the current account balances of our business. When posting daily transactions, you will have to select the customer or supplier which you will be supplying to or buying goods from. Let's select the Contacts tab and create a few contacts. I will create Software Assistant as a supplier and John Smith as a client or creditor. You can also create a miscellaneous contact which can be used for once-of transactions. This will complete preparation of the new company file. We are now ready to enter new transactions. The Cashbook screen will display all daily transactions. Suppose our customer has ordered goods and we issued an invoice. Since this transaction belongs to sales, I will click on the Sales button, then choose Invoice to Customer from the pop-up menu. I will choose a customer, John Smith, from the pick list and list the ordered items. Miscellaneous tools with quoted prices. The invoice number will be automatically generated. However, you can always override it and the program will increment the last number in the next invoice. If any of the customers had outstanding balance at the time of preparation of this company file, we could enter an invoice and show the accumulated balance. In the product list, we would show account 1360 Trade Debtors and enter the accumulated balance in the Amount column. In the Contact screen, I can then check the updated balance of the contact. Let's say the customer has made a payment which partially covered the invoice total. I will click on the Sales button since this transaction relates to sales, then select Payment from Customer. I have to select a bank account, usually account 1850, which is our check account, then choose the customer from the pick list and the outstanding customer invoices will be listed. In this case, it is a single invoice of $1,000 that we just issued. Enter the paid amount, let's say it was $800, and it will be allocated to the outstanding invoice. If I save this transaction, the outstanding balance will be displayed. In this case, it is $200 out of the invoiced $1,000. You can double click on the transaction to see its details. $1,000 invoiced and the $800 payment displayed on the bottom of the screen. If the customer paid for goods at the time of purchase, then you can register transactions via sales, received money. You should show the paid amount and list the items you sold. Suppose John Smith paid $100 for miscellaneous tools on the spot. This transaction will not change the outstanding balance of John Smith, as he paid for the goods. The $200 outstanding is from the previous invoice. The filter at the bottom of the screen allows us to filter receivables, which will list unpaid invoices. When the cash book contains a lot of transactions, the receivables filter will help you address your debtors. If for any reason your customer returned the goods, you can register this as a credit note to customer transaction. Select the customer, then list the goods that were returned and the amounts you agree to pay back to the customer. This transaction will reduce the balance of the customer and reduce the sales by $200. To settle returns and credits, select Sales, Settle Returns and Credits. Choose the customer and the credits will be listed in this table. There are two options to settle the returns or credits. You can choose to pay the client or apply the credit to the outstanding invoice. If I save this transaction, the cash book will strike through the original invoice and credit note amounts indicating they are closed. The contacts will also update the balance for John Smith. With his payment and issued credit note, he cleared his balance. The entry of purchase transactions is very similar to sales. Suppose we ordered Business Assistant. To register this transaction, I will click on the Purchases button and select Order or Invoice from Supplier. I will then choose Software Assistant as a supplier and list the purchases Computers and Software, which is account 7270. I will list an amount of $330 and click the OK button to save the transaction. The cash book screen will show the order and the balance of the supplier will be displayed as a negative amount in the contacts page. This indicates credit or money owing to the supplier. The payment can be registered via Purchases, Payment to Supplier. This is where I will choose the supplier and enter the payment amount, like in the Sales section. Let's make the matter more complicated and make a partial payment. The outstanding amount of $110 will be displayed in the cash book. We can also use the Payables filter to filter unpaid supplier invoices. This outstanding amount can be paid with another payment. However, let's say we negotiated a discount and the supplier has issued us with a credit note of $110. Let's enter this transaction.